UltraPolar telescopic Penivac from IC Medical. For today's training, we will need two pieces of equipment. You will need a surgical smoke evacuation console. Today we have an IC Medical Crystal Vision 450D. You will also need an electrosurgical unit for the monopolar energy output. When setting up the smoke evacuation device, the Crystal Vision 450D uses a reusable charcoal output filter, which is installed on the back of the equipment. On the front of the equipment, you will have your ULPA ULPA hydrophobic ULPA filter from IC Medical with a built-in fluid trap. When you put that into the filter receptacle, you will hear an audible click, allowing you, alerting you to that it's properly installed. And obviously you want the power turned on to both devices. The 450D should be set with all the lights in orange, letting you know that you are in the open mode. Right now we have the flow setting at 70 liters per minute, the time setting at 2 seconds. This is the number of seconds the smoke evacuation pump will stay activated even after the cutting is done. On the ESU side, we have the settings at 20 in cut and also 20 in coag. Traditionally, you will find you're probably used to having the energy set at 30 and 20 or 35 and 25. Because the monopolar energy device has a sharp blade, we find that you do not need that wattage, and that 20 and 20 should be sufficient, which also then leads to reduced thermal destruction of tissue or necrosis, and also less subsequent smoke production. So with all that said and everything being set up, we will take the UltraPolar out of the sterile pouch, and you will find you have 3 connections when you do that. These 3 connections include the smoke evacuation tubing, and what we will do with that is you'll take that threaded connection in the smoke evacuation tubing and you will insert it into the front of the ULPA ULPA filter, about a half clockwise turn, and that will lock securely in place. The other 2 connections that you have are the monopolar 3-prong hand control, and you put that in the proper receptacle on your ESU. It fits snugly in. The second connection, which will be unique to this device, is the grounding dispersive electrode connection that will go into your grounding pad port on your ESU. Now, again, one of the unique features of this device is that you do not need a grounding pad or dispersive electrode placed on your patient. That is because the actual blade itself has the return electrode built into it, and it is a self-containing unit. So again, no dispersive electrode or grounding pad placed on your patient. The grounding wire is built into the pencil and is also inserted into the proper receptacle on your ESU for the grounding purpose. There is a protective tip on the blade that we will remove when we're ready to start cutting. But the final piece of the setup is after you have plugged the wire in, you're going to take that wire, the monopolar hand-controlled wire, and you're going to put it in the clip on the RF sensor, which is then also plugged into the front of the smoke evacuation device. This device is just going to read the RF energy anytime cut and coag are hit on the pencil, alerting the smoke evacuation console it's time to turn on and time to turn off. So with all that said, we will get right to business. All right. So what I have here is just some traditional steak. But what we're going to do here is and you're going to notice that I'm going to start cutting tissue without actually administering any monopolar energy. The sharp tip of the blade allows you to do that. So we can start cutting now, and you'll notice that I'm making considerable work, easy work of this tissue, dissecting it and removing the piece that I want surgically removed. Without, now, if I'm getting some blood, I'll obviously want to start coagulating, and you'll notice that I'm doing that here with relative ease. Now, if I need to cut, I will administer some cutting. And you'll see that I'm cutting it, and there is a fair amount of smoke being produced in the cutting, although probably less than what you're used to since I have the ESU set down as low as 20. But the Pentavac smoke evacuation nozzle is making easy work of that smoke, suctioning it all up into the smoke evacuation simultaneous with the cutting. And there we have made easy work of that dissection. All the smoke is removed. There's not a lot of tissue damage there, but that is sort of some of the highlights of the device, in addition to not needing a dispersive electrode on your patient. With that, the holster, and we are all set. And that concludes our training today. Thank you for joining. UltraPolar telescopic Pentavac from IC Medical.